Oh, good morning, everybody. This is for all my Resurrection Man page members and whatnot. I'm basically taking and swapping memory out of one Dell into another. I discovered something interesting. This is the memory that came with the Dell I'm swapping out of. If you look, right there, it's 512 meg CL 2.5. The memory that is actually going in, or came out, or whatever, I'm going to pull one of these out right here, so you can see this. You can actually mismatch memory even if it's the same category, like DDR. It can be mismatched, and I'll show you why. If you look on this one, the information is different. It is DDR, this is only a 256, but you'll notice there's 3 C's and a CL3. The other one said CL 2.5 and did not have the 3 C's. There it is. So when you buy memory, you have to make sure that your information matches up. This is an older Dell that I'm pulling memory out of. The memory I'm actually pulling out of this Dell is a 1 gig card that matches the serials on the card that I just showed you out of the computer I'm putting memory into. So it's safe to do this. It's important to note that the computer I'm pulling parts out of are actually having it's having intermittent memory problems, crashes, the hard drive's telling you that it's failed. There's all kinds of issues. It could be a bad hard drive. The computer did endure a power surge, but in any case, it could also be RAM related. Basically, it was saying that occasionally the hard drive would stop responding altogether. I'm not really sure why. I'm not looking into it because the machine's too old to bother. What I am doing is I'm putting the 1 gig card, that's the one right there, in with three 256s. Now you might be asking, well, why are you doing that? The reason I'm doing that is because I don't have a 512 card here. This computer only has 512, and as of this, it'll have almost 2 gigs. And it's my personal computer, so it's going to do what I need it to do. Run a lot more efficient, and it is matched for the memory I'm putting into it. But the point of this was to tell you if you buy memory for a computer, make sure everything matches your specifications. Read everything. Take the memory card out of the machine you're working on, write down the information if you can't have it next to you while you're looking at memory, and then do a matchup online when you're purchasing memory. You might find yourself having to buy used memory. Alright, the next step I'm taking here is I am putting a better graphics card in. Dell has this awful habit of putting integrated graphics cards. What integrated means is that it's leeching off of the system memory to run the graphics. So your graphics end up being as fast as the memory they put in. In this case, they were asked to build a gaming machine. They made it very expandable, but they also put an integrated card in and only 512 of memory. And this was back in 2004. Admittedly, this is 2011. You should really just buy a new machine, but as a very wise friend of mine once told me, multitasking requires multiple computers. Sometimes having a slower computer around, this is by no means a very slow machine, requires or is useful for things like going online, music, that kind of thing. And so I'm just snapping in this it's an older graphics card. It is an ATI, but it does not do transformation and lighting. So, but it does run graphics applications a lot more efficiently than what came with the machine. And basically I'm just going to snap that in like that. As you can see, this card has a cooling fan on it. It does run pretty warm. And also, when you're doing computer repair work and you have one of these, make sure there's no dust in the heatsink. If you have a bottle of canned air, which I do not, blow out the heatsink. That's this big copper thing. And just, make sure that you upkeep all the dust out of it. This machine has outlived itself 100 times because I've kept that all up. And general things like that will actually increase the life of a machine. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wireless receiver out. The interesting thing is all of these items were already installed on the machine they're going into. Just drop that. And so I don't have to install any of the drivers for all of this. I swapped them over to see what the health of this machine was. and it only had a 32-bit graphics card in it. So it became necessary, of course, for using internet and whatnot to install the wireless card, because I'm on a wireless router here. But it was also pertinent to install the graphics card just so that the monitor would work right. Alright, I had to go get a screwdriver so I could undo the slot here. Now, admittedly, most of you will probably not want to try this stuff yourself. And one of the common misnomers out there is that, well, you don't have any ESD, or whatever you call it, static protection. You're not wearing any static protection. The chassis of the computer is grounded. It's absorbing any static. I have never had a computer have an issue because of ESD while doing this. They're designed so that you can make these common household repairs without going out and buying an electronics shop. There we go. Make sure things snapping correctly too. If it feels like it's not snapping, don't force it. And then, you know, you just want to make sure everything's connected right, as such. And the next step I'm going to take is I'm actually going to swap out a dead DVD drive, which is that right there. And I'm going to put in a DVD drive that's working, which is actually a newer one from here. So these are two very Frankenstein machines. But I do this kind of thing all the time, and it literally only takes me a few minutes. Okay, this, not good. This thing's fan runs overtime, and this is probably why. Up until now, I didn't even know how to get this off. Thanks to my lab assistant, mad scientist Brunel, from Brunel Tools. I actually figured it out. He put his keen and penetrating mind to the task. Alright, well, I got way more into this than I wanted to. As you can see now, the front no longer looks like a giant dog. We've actually removed the dust. I also pulled this drive out. My lab assistant here decided that I was being lazy if I didn't. It's my own machine.
Sorry about that.
But he's ultimately right. And we cleaned the dust out. We really vacuumed out the heat sink. And this fan, we were going to swap fans, but the voltage is mismatched. The wattage is the same, but the voltage is mismatched. It's not recommended to swap mismatched voltage. You could run into other problems. So we basically vacuumed and cleaned this thing out. At this point, this is the full Monty. This is like the most service a machine will get. We've put in all the equipment, and we're going to put in this DVD drive and attach it to the slave CD-ROM drive, and we should be good to go. Alright, well, we used the peanut butter in the background to get everything to go back. I'm just kidding. I just noticed it in the picture. The computer's back together. We have a new DVD drive, as you can see, and we're going to plug it in now and see if it works. It will. There you go. So the whole process took me about 2 hours to do the entire job, because we ended up cleaning everything and making sure everything was working correctly. Alright, well, as you can see, the computer is functioning. I actually had to re-jump the DVD-ROM drive. It was set for the bottom one as master and no slave. I set the appropriate configuration, and it's now working. In fact, it's even faster than it was before, so that's really what we were looking for. And just so you can see, we have a desktop and everything's up and running, and so we're good to go. There you go. That's a true Frankenstein machine now. That was the whole purpose of the project.